Hello Stampers, this is Stamp Lady Katie, and today we're going to be talking again about my favorite punch, which is the dotted scallop ribbon border punch. I recently showed a tutorial on using it to make a square medallion layer for a card, something that would look like this sample right here. So the square background was punched using this punch, simply centered it in the punch, and punched once on each side. The fact that the length of this square is longer than the punching surface gives you these nice little squares in each of the corner. So one of the reasons this is my favorite punch, of course, is because this is such a gorgeous little medallion. You can use the punch the way it's intended to simply make a border like you see along the bottom of that card, or like you see on my checkbook that I decorated. Here's the front side of my checkbook. There's the back side of my checkbook. It really makes a stunning addition to your project. You can also use this punch to make just a little border that goes along the edge of a piece. So instead of exposing both sides of the ribbon, we're just exposing one side of that punched ribbon. Today, however, instead of making the square, I'm going to show you how to make this rectangular piece. Now the size of that rectangular piece to start with is a 3x5 sheet of paper. So there's my 3x5 sheet of paper. And once again, I mentioned on the other video, if you saw that one, but what I've done on my punch is I've made some marks on the outside. Now the punch comes with a printed image, so that if you were going to try to punch something that was longer than just this cutting surface, that you'd be able to line it up with the printed image that's on the bottom. But you can see that I've made a couple of marks here for myself, one for using a 3-inch square and one for using a 3 1/4-inch square. Stampin' Up's new punch design locks, so I just unlocked it so that it'll work now. With this 3 1/2-inch piece of paper, start by centering it in your punch. Now I'm using the 3 1/4-inch size, so for the marks that I've made on mine, it's the red colored mark that I can see on the base. If you don't make the marks on your punch, then you're going to line it up with something visual with the design on the base, and you just count the number of scalloped images in, and it's right below that set of holes that are printed there. So I punch, and now I've got that end with the beginnings of the nice little corners that are going to be there. Just like when you're doing the square, rotate it 90 degrees and put it back in the punch, same place where it was. I'm lining it up with my red mark, or you would visually bring it down to the same starting place that you did when you did the small side of that rectangle. And then, if you were simply going to create a long piece of punched ribbon, you would use the base, the printed image on the base here, and line up what you've already punched with that printed image. Nicely lined up right now. Oops, I just moved it. Yeah, on purpose. So it's not lined up. There, it's lined up again. But this time, it's critical, since I'm not just making a long ribbon. I want to make this piece that's got a nice square in the other corner. I want to also line up the other piece of my paper with the other red ribbon that I made on my punch. So now what I've done, and I just grabbed it slightly with my hand. I don't know if you saw that muscle action in my hand there, but I just grabbed it to keep the paper steady. This thing that's going to be the corner of my piece when I'm finished is lined up with that red mark. The top up here I need to make sure is lined up with the printed image on the base of the punch. So at this point, what I've done is I've continued the pattern but left the corner unpunched. And then do just like I did for the square punch. Go ahead and line up that corner and make sure again that you are keeping all 4 corners starting in the same place. So now 3 out of the 4 edges are done. Line it up again to start that last long side, and then very carefully make sure once again that my image up here of what I've already punched and what's printed on the base of the punch are lined up. Make sure that the corner that is to remain unpunched is lined up in the right spot to make that square corner. and then you've got your finished piece. So now you've got a piece that's ready to make your finished card project. Thanks for watching. Once again, my favorite punch, the Dotted Scallop Ribbon Border Punch.